AI is just everywhere, right? It's picking the shows we watch, it's filtering the news we read. But have you ever stopped to think what happens when these incredibly powerful systems make a mistake? When they get it wrong, how do we, the people using them, actually hold them accountable? Okay, let's really dive into that. This quote right here, it's from over 100 years ago, but wow, has it ever felt more relevant than it does right now? We've all seen the headlines: AI systems mistakenly denying people loans or misidentifying people in photos. This quote just perfectly captures the challenge we're facing. How do we make sure these amazing new tools stay firmly in the role of servant?
For this explainer, we're pulling our insights straight from this handbook. It's basically a guide for the people on the front lines, the ones whose job it is to keep AI in check and make sure it's working for us, safely.
So what is it that makes an AI potentially so dangerous? Well, a huge part of it is something called the black box problem. Just imagine an AI that's deciding who gets a job interview. It might reject a candidate who is absolutely perfect on paper. And get this, because it's so complex, even its own creators might not know why. It's exactly this lack of transparency that can hide some really costly errors and serious risks.
So how in the world do we crack open that black box? That is where auditing comes in. And forget what you think about boring old accounting. This is more like a detective story. It's a quest to get a peek inside the AI's brain, to figure out how it thinks, and to make absolutely sure that it's trustworthy and on our side. Now take a look at this. This diagram really helps map out the whole AI world. You see, artificial intelligence is the big umbrella term, but inside that, there are these key areas. For what we're talking about today, we're going to zoom in on two of the most important ones: machine learning, which you'll see called ML, and natural language processing, or NLP. All right, first up, machine learning, or ML. As you can see, it's what lets systems learn from data, spot patterns, and then make decisions or predictions. I mean, this is basically what allows an AI to learn from experience, kind of like we do. The more pictures of cats you show an ML system, the better it gets at recognizing a cat. It's the real engine driving an AI's ability to get smarter over time. And then we've got natural language processing, NLP. This is the magic that gives AI the power to read, interpret, and actually understand human language. This is what's behind tools like ChatGPT. It's how they can make sense of your questions and write back in a way that sounds, well, incredibly human. So with those building blocks in mind, let's see how this all comes together. If you're going to audit an AI, the very first thing you have to do is check its background. And honestly, you should think of it exactly like you're reviewing a resume before a big job interview. You've got to know where it came from, what information it was trained on, and what it was actually built to do. Which is a great question, right? You can't just sit an AI down and ask where it went to school. So how do the auditors do it? Well, they rely on two absolutely essential documents that basically act as the AI's permanent record. And this slide just lays out the difference perfectly. On one hand, you have the AI datasheet. Think of this as the AI's textbooks. It details all the data it learned from. Then you have the AI model card. This is more like its actual resume. It outlines its skills, its performance stats, and any limitations it has for a specific job. Okay, so once you've looked over the resume, it's time to see how the AI really does in the real world. This step is like giving it a whole battery of tests to create its report card, one that grades its actual practical abilities. But you can't just slap an A or B on an AI. Nope. Auditors use very specific, numbers-based metrics to measure its performance as objectively as possible. Let's look at 3 key examples that you'll see all the time in this field. First on the list is the F1 score. Now, the slide gives you the technical definition there. It's a way to measure accuracy using precision and recall, but honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like a batting average for an AI. It boils down all this complex performance stuff into one simple number that tells you how accurate the model truly is. Next, we have something called perplexity. I know, it sounds a little complicated, but the idea behind it is actually pretty straightforward. It basically tests how good a language model is at predicting the very next word in a sentence. You could also think of it as a measure of how surprised a model is by a piece of text. A lower perplexity score is what you want. It means the model is more confident and more accurate. And finally, there's ROUG, and yes, that's an acronym for Recall-Oriented Understudy for Gisting Evaluation. This metric is all about judging the quality of a summary that an AI writes. How? By comparing it to a perfect gold standard summary written by a human. It's absolutely essential for grading any AI designed to summarize articles or documents. So here's the most important point in all of this. All this auditing, checking the resume with data sheets, grading the report card with all these metrics, it's all driving towards one fundamental goal: building trust. And if we're going to build trust across the board, we need some clear rules of the road.
And these aren't just gentle suggestions from tech companies. This is a massive societal challenge. We're seeing major regulations, like the EU AI Act you see here, being put into law to require this kind of transparency and accountability, especially for high-risk AI systems.
So what does this all boil down to? Really, it's 4 core ideas for building AI we can trust. First, we have to be honest and just acknowledge the risks exist. Second, we have to demand transparency using tools like those data sheets and model cards. Third, we've got to rigorously measure performance with objective numbers. And finally, we have to use all of that information to ensure fairness and accountability.
At the end of the day, we are building the toolkits and the legal frameworks to keep AI as our useful servant. The methods and the standards, they exist. So the biggest question now isn't a technical one, it's a human one. Will we actually have the discipline and the foresight to use them?
If you found this breakdown valuable, please take just a second to like this and subscribe. Your support really does help us create more content just like this, breaking down the big topics that are shaping our world. Thanks so much for watching.